Welcome back to the Investor Professor podcast. This is Dr. Ryan Peckham. And on today's episode, we're going to talk about recessions. Can they be good? Let's take a contrarian viewpoint here as everybody on TV just pontificates on whether a recession is going to happen. Is it not going to happen? Let's just take a deeper view and see if we can't figure out a way to use a recession for our benefit. So put your contrarian mindset on and get your mind right, and let's get to work. Well, once again, welcome back to the show, everybody. And yeah, like I said in the intro, let's think about recessions. Let's see if we can figure out a way to use them to our advantage, because the time's going to pass anyways. We're either going to go into a recession or we're not, but there's got to be some positives that can come out of it. And there's got to be some things that we can do to position ourselves to take advantage of it if it does come. And so that's what I wanted to spend today talking about with you, is how you can set up your habits, your mindset, how you can just start to think about how you can take advantage of an upcoming recession if we have one. I was very interested the other day. Warren Buffett said, if you promised him there was a recession next year, he'd still be doing the same things that he's doing today. And I think that's very important for you to think about, because recessions do not last forever. Right? They don't last forever, but there's a bias where you start to project. It's called projection bias, where you project what's happening today into the future. So if the stock market's doing great, investors will say, okay, this is going to go on forever, and they'll project that into the future. If the stock market isn't doing well, they'll project that into the future and say, well, why would I want to invest? It's just going to be bad from here on out. Whereas I look at it as a time, and I've said many times on these podcasts that, like, I'm in full, share gathering mode, trying to invest in a number of places, buy up as many shares as I possibly can, because I'm thinking 3 years from now, 3, 5, 10, whatever it is. I'm definitely not thinking about 3 weeks from now, because there's no way for me to have any kind of confidence that I'm going to be right or wrong on that. And so, when you look at that, when you look at other things, a recession by definition is 2 or more quarters of slowing growth in GDP, gross domestic product, which we have discussed in the past. But let's look at it a little bit deeper than that. What else happens when you have a recession? Well, the labor market gets a little tougher, right? Housing prices usually come down a little bit. There's all these areas where maybe there's so many buyers going after the same products that having a little bit of that pull back is not a bad thing. There's a big article that discusses that millennials and Gen Zers want to buy homes. They just can't afford it. And this just came out from CNBC a couple of weeks ago. And the sad thing is Gen Z is considered 18 to 25 and millennial is considered 26 to 41, which is crazy. I mean, I'm considered a millennial by a couple months here, and there are millennials that are still struggling my age to be able to buy houses, which I find pretty worrisome. And so most Americans still consider, 74% of Americans still consider home ownership like the number one hallmark of achieving the American dream. And there's so many of our younger population that can't not only put a down payment on a home, but actually afford a home. And so, housing prices, if we have a recession and housing prices come down, that might be an advantage for the younger generation to actually be able to buy a house, be able to get some permanent housing in their life, which would definitely be a benefit for their futures. And so, that could be one area where it would also would be okay. The other thing about having a tougher job market is that people start to appreciate their jobs a lot more. So recently we've seen the great resignation and all these things, but I'm not sure where you live, what customer service is like, but I know that where I'm at, customer service isn't great, and people are really, some of us may not be as appreciative of our jobs as we should be. And so when you start hearing about people get laid off, usually customer service starts to get better. People want to do better in their jobs. They want to protect what they have. They start seeing the value in it, And so if you are in the service business, or if you are in any type of business, this could be your time to shine, because if you're in a business like real estate or my business, financial services, there's going to be a lot of people who aren't going to make it. There's going to be a lot of people who aren't going to make it. And so it's actually going to reduce the level of competition for you. It's going to, if you do the small things, you're going to be able to capture business, grow your business. Maybe this is an opportunity to start your business. And we'll talk about businesses that started during a recession a little bit later. But doing the little things that make you or your business shine start to matter a lot more during a recession. So when I look back at my investment practice, it has grown more during times of trouble than it does during good times. So for the investment business, there's a lot of people who are now willing to talk to me because their portfolios aren't doing well, because they know they're not saving as much, because they know they need a plan. And when everything's rosy, nobody wants to rock the boat, so nobody's willing to have that conversation. So when I look back at my practice and the development of my practice, it has always grown more during times of economic hardship, because people are willing to have a conversation. So for me, I have to be ready for that. I have to be able to do the small things, make sure that I'm doing all the small things needed for my current customer, my current client base, but then also be able to have methods and habits and things like that where I'm ready to have more conversations with people that maybe are looking to have somebody. And so for your business, it could be the same. There are a lot of businesses today that are crowded, and there needs to be some of those businesses that aren't doing the right thing to basically be done, where there needs to be better efficiencies. There needs to be just a little bit more appreciation for maybe what they had. So those inefficient businesses will cease to operate, right? And because of, like, when you think of 2020 and you think of all the COVID money, the PPP loans, all of that kept a lot of businesses afloat that probably should not be in business, right? So you have to evolve. You have to be willing to do the small things, and you have to be willing to pay the price to kind of get your business or your career where you want it to be. So how are you going to take advantage if times become tougher, right? Good businesses will thrive. They will do the things. They will invest in the systems, the marketing, all the things that they need to do to make it out of, the recession stronger, more customers than they had before. There's some marketing data that proves that companies that continue to market through a recession actually end up doing better coming out of the recession. They gain business. And so when you look at companies that you want to invest in, look for the companies that have enough cash on their balance sheets that are going to be able to provide keep all of these things going. I bring up marketing because marketing is normally one of the easiest things for a business to cut when times get rough, right? It's always easy to save on your marketing budget, not let customers know that you're out there, but you have to keep that up, and you have to keep that consistent. Consistency is the name of the game for a number of metrics for any business. So you have to make sure that you are diligent and proactive where other people are not, other people and other businesses in that term, and other investors. Right? Other investors are going to sell out of good companies because they just can't take the pain anymore. And we've seen that a lot this year. I mean, the last 9 months has not been great. And here we are in September, and September is historically the weakest month for the stock market, right? It's one of the only months that I believe has a negative return on average for its history. So, you have to be willing to think about summer when it's winter and be doing the things that you need to do so you can take advantage of it. There are always a couple of things that I tell myself when I'm thinking about, times getting rocky or whatever. But one of them is Charlie Munger. So Charlie Munger is Warren Buffett's right-hand man. And he says that one of the things he always asks Warren is, what's the dumbest thing we can do? And whatever the answer is, he goes, okay, well, let's not do that. Right? So start thinking about what's some of the dumb things that you can do. And especially when it comes to investing, it's normally selling at the wrong time. And so investing is more about investor behavior, your behavior, than it is about making the right pick and trying to pick the one company that's going to be the lottery ticket for you, if you will, and just making sure you're doing something that's consistent. Something else to think about is the time's going to pass anyway. So even if the market is down over the next 18 months or we're in a recession for the next 18 months, that time is going to pass. So you can either sit there and be thinking about, okay, man, this stinks. Nothing's working out. I don't like my job. I don't like whatever. Or you can be thinking about, okay, how can I use this to my advantage? How can I make myself more valuable so that I can earn more money, so I can invest more, so I can buy a house, so I can buy that first piece of real estate that I'm wanting to buy? Like, what are some things I can do to put myself in a position to win? Because there's so many things that you cannot control, right? There are so many things going on in the world today that you have zero control over. Zero. You can complain about it. You can talk about it. You can make posts on the internet about it, but there is nothing you can do about it. So you have to start thinking about what are the things that you do on a daily basis that you can control and that can impact your life in a positive way. Reading a chapter a day, working out, saving more money, getting a better job so that you can earn more money so that you can save more money. Like, what are the little things that you can control that are going to really impact your ability to change your future? That's really what you should just sit there and just think about for a little bit and come up with a plan on how you're going to be able to use this to your advantage. Because it does, for some people, if we go into a recession, it will level the playing field for some of you. It will allow you opportunities that you might not have had. And so you have to be ready. You have to be ready when those times come. So let's just look at some companies that started when economic times were really bad. And I won't go back. I'll try to hit some that are relevant, that weren't created so long ago that we don't even remember who they were. But Disney, for instance, was launched in 1929, right before the Great Depression, the 4-year Great Depression. So Disney started right before that. Some of the others that you might know, Microsoft, 1975, after the 1973 oil crisis, it led to a 16-month recession in the stock market in the mid-70s. You'll see after the technology bubble burst, you had Google was founded in 1998. Right before that, Salesforce, 1999. A couple months before that, PayPal was in 2000. Right before that, Facebook shortly after in 2004. And then in 2009, right when the financial crisis started, you had Uber. Uber was created in March of 2009. So there's all, even though the economy might not be doing well, people are out there creating the next best business. For some of you that are younger listening to this, think about what the trends are going to be over the next 5 to 10 years and how you can take advantage of that. And I say that because trends are mostly created by, younger people. There's not a whole lot of, 75-year-olds creating trends. The problem is when you're in your 20s, you know what the trends are. You just a lot of times don't have the money to invest in them. And that is the paradox, right? It's you're trying to do everything at once. You're trying to save for retirement, save for a house, save for all these different things. Maybe you're trying to pay for school, I mean, there's all these things where you're trying to make the decision that's going to be the best for you. And that is not always easy, but you normally are able to spot what the trends are going to be over the next couple of years. I mean, it's one of the reasons why, obviously investing in Apple and PayPal owns Venmo. And I know a lot of people who use Venmo to pay their friends, to do certain things. I mean, so all these different little pieces of technology, like how can you figure out, or how can you find out, going back to the previous long episode we had, where coming up with investment ideas. I mean, all these things kind of come together. So you have to be able to sit down, spend some time, no phone, no TV, and just have some time where you just think. Think about your own life. Think about how you want to invest. How do you want your life to look in 10 years? And you have to design it. You have to figure out a way to make that happen. So whether it's starting your own business, or whether it's investing, or whatever it is, looking at how a recession is going to impact that, and then figure out a way on how you can make that advantageous for yourself. So in closing, and just to be clear, I really hope we don't get a recession. I hope that the Federal Reserve and Jerome Powell, and I hope they engineer the soft landing that they're trying to do. But I also want to be prepared in case they don't, and I want you to be prepared in case they don't. But also, it's worth pointing out that most recessions don't last as long as we think that they do. Right? Most recessions are 17 months long, and they have already started by the time they say we're in a recession. So, we could be in a recession for 6 months when they finally declare. It's not like somebody comes out on one day and says, all right, the recession's starting today, start the clock. I mean, it's already happened. And so you're usually 6 months in already. So you're almost out of it before they even declare it. So, you got to be mentally tough. You got to be willing to be able to kind of have the bad times if you want to have the good times. And so you just kind of got to keep that mindset and make sure that you're doing the things that you can do, that you're in control of, to really impact your future. So I hope this episode was helpful for you. I appreciate your time as always. Don't mistake activity for achievement, and I'll see you next time.